There are 5 questions winning poker players ask themselves in every single hand. I have been a winning pro for 7 straight years by using this exact thought process to make clear, confident decisions. In this video, I am going to give you all 5 questions and show you how to use them so you will start making better decisions and winning more money in your games. The first question I ask myself involves pre-flop decision making. What is the player type I am facing in this hand? The reason I ask this is because I want to know how I am going to play my opponent. Is my opponent a regular at the poker table and does everyone know them? Am I playing against a recreational who is just looking to have a good time and is having a couple of drinks? Is the player tight and has not been playing too many hands recently? Are they loose and it seems as if they are playing every single hand? How has my opponent been carrying themselves at the poker table based on their chip stack, reaction towards the dealers, other players, and certain runouts? All of these questions about player type are key because we must know who we are battling to have a better understanding of how we should play against them. Everything at the poker table relays information to give you clues on how to proceed accordingly. For example, if your opponent is not playing with a full stack, then odds are they are a recreational and may also be afraid to lose a lot of money. If someone else starts adding chips in very big amounts when they lose a hand, then odds are they mean business. If dealers know the player's first name, last name, wife or husband's name, how many kids they have, or their favorite food to eat while playing, then they are definitely a regular to the game. Keep in mind, a regular does not mean they are a good player though, but we can use this as a baseline to further identify them. So next time you sit down at the table, make sure you identify everyone to the best of your knowledge to play them better during your session. If you are struggling with your confidence and decision making at the table, scan this QR code to join my free poker newsletter. You will learn what it takes to improve your overall understanding of the game. You can also click my pinned comment of this video to join. The second question is going to be, what is my current holding? Yes, this may seem simple, but I want you to think about it from a range perspective. When we RFI or raise first in a hand such as ace-2 suited from the button, we know it is going to be the bottom of our ace-x suited range, but not necessarily the bottom of our opening range. When we raise a hand such as 5-4 suited from the button, we know we are at the bottom of our suited connected range pretty much. This is super important to understand because where our current holding is at in our overall range from each position at the poker table helps us to decide how we should proceed from pre-flop to post-flop. Are you at the bottom? Then maybe you should fold to someone who is 3-betting you. Are you in the middle? Then we can continue to someone who is 3-betting a normal range. The decisions will change as we progress from pre-flop to the flop, turn, and the river. As we make it post-flop, we now can ask ourselves the third question of what am I aiming to accomplish with my range and current holding. Every time we decide to make a bet post-flop, there must be a reason why we are betting. Making a bet because you feel like it is not a reason to put chips in a pot. Some of the reasons to bet include to get called by a worse hand or to bluff someone off a better hand. Focusing on having the range advantage and firing out a continuation bet is also super important. Sometimes we can even have an extremely strong hand such as 2-pair, but our range does not necessarily want to bet in a particular spot. Overall, being able to disguise your hand is significant and will pay dividends in the long run. If you are ever in a spot and you cannot find a reason to bet, then maybe it is better to check your option. Betting because you are scared what your opponent might do is not the perspective you want to have. Also, checking can sometimes provide more winnings in a particular hand than if you were to do the betting yourself. The next question is going to focus on us and our opponent at the same time. especially when we are making a decision on calling a bet on the flop, turn, or river, and also deciding if we should raise. What is my range and what is my opponent's range? I would like to focus on the river since this is where a lot of money can be won or lost in an instance. To keep it simple, let's focus on a pot where we are big blind versus button. I want to give two scenarios because the following questions will help in both of them. The first will be a pot where we check call flop, check call turn, and then face a triple barrel on the river. The second will be a pot where we check call flop, the turn goes check check, and then we check the river and face a bet. Focusing on our own range, you need to be able to decide where you are at based on the sizing of the bets on each street. In poker, when we face a small bet, we will be able to call more hands in our range, and if we face a big bet, we will have to call less often. Based on this, where are you at with the hands you have in your range on the river versus the final bet? Are you at the bottom of your range? Let's use a second pair or top pair bad kicker made hand in this example. This means odds are you can fold and pick a better spot to put your chips in. Sometimes it is better to let it go than try to be a hero. Are you at the middle of your range of hands you get to with on the river? Let's use a top pair decent or good kicker made hand this time. Well, this is a bit more complex, but still we should not always be calling, especially against certain player types who do not bluff enough. Finding folds here are the most important because sometimes poker players feel they are committed based on the money put in on the previous streets. This is not the case, so please understand you can always fold. Now, are you at the top of your range with the hands you get to with on the river? Let's focus on strong two pairs, flushes, and trips. Most times this would be the almost top portion of our range, and it is fine to make a call majority of the time, especially if we do not have a specific read against our opponent. When we start folding the top portion of our range too much, we run the risk of getting ran over. Yes, once in a while you will lose with the top portion of your range, but in the long run, it will be profitable to make these calls. A lot of people struggle with knowing where they are at in their range. If this is a problem for you, you should scan this QR code to join my free poker newsletter. The knowledge you will receive will give you a better understanding of the game. You can also click the pinned comment to join. Another question winning poker players ask themselves is, on this board texture or run out, whose range does it favor? This is the most important question of them all because it will allow you to have a better understanding of how we should proceed in certain spots. Do you have the range advantage? If you do, and you see bet as we talked about before, but then start to face check raises, this is completely fine. When you have the advantage majority of the time, we will be able to defend when our opponent decides to be aggressive. For example, we should never be worried about c-betting on an ace-king deuce rainbow flop, button versus big blind, and getting check raised because we have all the sets of aces, kings, ace-king, ace-x with strong kickers, and other broadways drawn to the nut straights. Not only do we have the range advantage, but we also have the nut advantage as well. I say this because you must remember in this particular configuration of button versus big blind, our opponent will 3-bet aces, kings, and ace-king. With the advantage, we will have enough hands in our range to continue accordingly and can never be bullied off of hands consistently. The inverse of this situation would be if the flop came a simple 6-5-4 two-toned button versus big blind. Notice in this spot, the flop and most runouts are going to favor our opponent. One simple hand to look at is 8-7 specifically. Can we both have 8-7 suited in this spot? Of course, but who has 8-7 offsuit? I am not sure about you, but I am not opening that hand from the button, but the big blind will defend it sometimes in your games. Now, if we do bet and get check raised, the aggression starts to lean towards our opponent having better hands than we do. Focusing on runouts now, this can be seen on boards that contain a lot of 4-card straights. For example, the flop can be 6-5-4, the turn is an ace, and the river is a 3. Do we have more straights, or does our opponent have more straights in their range? If the flush comes on the river in the same configuration, do they have more flushes, or do we have more flushes? Now, it is not that we cannot have these hands at all, but our opponent has a lot more of these made hands, and we must respect this aspect of the game. Remember what I said in the beginning, poker is a game of range against range, and once you realize that, you will be on the path to success. After you watch this next video, you will learn the one move that makes live poker extremely easy.